the social rejection game is big. People are waiting to be found. It's like, I have this amazing gift and this amazing talent, but I'm not going to do anything with it because I'm so afraid that if I share my authentic self, whoever I am, I'm going to be rejected. So I'm not going to share my truths. I'm going to keep really quiet because we are so longing for connection and to belong. We are willing to do whatever it takes to seek the approval of others, because at the end of the day, we want to feel accepted, we want to feel loved, we want to belong. And the isolation hurts way more. I think that many times we don't really know who we are. What we know is the programming of what our parents want for us, or our elders want for us, or our families want for us, or our friends want for us, or our friends see for us. And the list goes on and on and on. And so this is where you get to take back your agency. Hello there, everyone. Welcome to the Brave Table. I'm your host, Dr. Neeta. And if this is the first time you're tuning in, well, we're spilling the tea today. And this is your oasis, your destination to be all things just a little bit more brave. Brave in checking in with in yourself, brave in your actions, in your relationships. And today, I'm feeling really good. I just got back from an amazing, lovely little weekend getaway, impromptu trip. Don't you just love those? Where you feel nourished and supported by, for me, it was my girlfriend gang. And hopefully we all have one or two people that we can really look to for that support. And if you're like, maybe that's not me, maybe this year we can be brave and reach out to people that we want to connect more with and authentically. And I wanted to start out by setting the tone for today. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can see that I am picking a card for us. And this is from my That Suck Now What affirmation card deck. Ooh, okay, here we are. I accept where I am today, knowing that when one door closes, the others open, making it one step closer to my deepest desires. Ooh, okay. And the action step, make a list of what didn't go right in the moment, but led you to where you are to this moment today. So maybe it brought you here to get that very message. I'm going to keep that there. That's a beautiful one. And wow, I feel like I finally landed in my body. Uh, I have been kind of moving through different waves of just funkiness. I think funkiness after, long haul travel, being out of sorts with my nervous system, and I keep saying this every time, but there are definite points for me that when I come close to water and oceans, it really just resets me. And maybe that's what I needed, because I was even thinking, oh, maybe I should cancel my trip to LA. I'm just kind of feeling low energy. It's like wintering. And if you are feeling that in any way, I want to invite you to just maybe take notice. Take notice of the things that maybe are sucking your energy. And while it may not be so easy to, get on a flight and go buy a body of water, maybe there is places and people that really light you up, that add more energy to you, especially if you're kind of feeling low and in a funk. And today I really want to get into how to feel authentic without seeking the approval of others, because here's what tends to happen. And I was thinking about this, and one of the reasons why I thought I was going to cancel my trip this time was we had just gotten back from 5 weeks away. The kids are finally not jet lagged. And we were kind of going through the feels of, oh my gosh, another trip. And while this was work related, I was recording with some amazing humans, which you will hear soon. One of them was with my dear longtime soul fam, Sean Stevenson of the Model Health Show. And the other was with Dr. Michael Beckwith. And those were two very incredible shows that I've just loved them for the longest time. And it's so important to check in with what is coming up. And for me, what was coming up before that week, it's like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can leave. Mom guilt was coming up. And, I can't focus on myself because how can I go back, etc. Or and I want to just tune into the moment of where you are right now, what stage in life that you are right now, and what season of life that you're in right now with yourself. Because it's so easy to begin to chase the approval of others, chase the approval of, maybe subconsciously your spouse, your partner, friends, colleagues, your kids, that you then diminish your own light. And I didn't know what I needed. I just knew I was kind of going through the motions. And I really thought, hey, maybe it's not time. Or maybe it was just another emotion coming through, which was guilt. And I have literally, when these emotions come up, I now kind of say, okay, hey, guilt, how you doing? What's going on? What message do you have for me? And kind of welcome it as a friend. We welcome it as a friend, and we welcome the parts of ourself that rise to the surface. So it could be guilt, jealousy, anger, rage, resentment, worthlessness, and you invite it to the table. And so we bring it to the table to actually ask, all right, what insights do you have for me? Why am I feeling this way? Because it's so easy to push it off to the side, shove it under a rug, pretend like everything's okay when it's actually not. And, you know, being in LA this time, I've always loved LA, and I think really energetically it's ocean vibes for me. I'm literally such a water baby. And I mean, as soon as I got off the plane that Thursday, my girlfriend picked me up. Shout out to Kelsey. And she took me to the beach and she's like, we need to like ground you. It was a full week of momming, super hard. Ajit was away for the week and it was tough. And I don't think we give moms enough credit for all of the things that you do, all of the relationships that you're doing, because not only are you the CEO of the kids, but you're also the CEO of your home, and you're also the CEO of your social networks, and all of the play dates and all of the logistics and all the organizing and all of the, the meeting with the parents and the teachers and et cetera. The list goes on, and it's exhausting. And I didn't realize that it hit me that it was so much organizational logistical stuff over the last 5 weeks. And yet we do it, just like that. And because it's easy and because we're wired to do this. And yet we don't necessarily stop to say, ooh, how is my nervous system doing? And that's where I finally felt grounded at the beach. And, it was as if I needed a shake, shake the last few weeks off. But I think there's so much pressure going into the new year with the intentions and goals, et cetera, that we feel like we need to be somewhere. And which is why I think the card for today so appropriate. I accept where I am today. Accept where I am today. And I think coming back to a place like LA where energetically it's hustle and bustle and you don't have time. This is even being in Delhi and in Dubai and even in New York, Chicago, like any of the big cities, you don't have time to just go inward. There is pressure to do, perform, be, etc. And how does it actually feel to your nervous system to kind of be rushed or to force yourself? And sometimes we need a little kick. I'm not trying to say that we have to kind of be in the being mode, but I think it's also the balancing act between the being and the doing. And we often put so much pressure on ourselves to, go, go, go. If we're not doing, then we are pegging ourselves as lazy. And I really want to get into this idea of how maybe subconsciously or maybe, this is the way you operate your life, where we are seeking the approval, where it's like you are looking for that carrot stick and you are chasing that carrot stick wherever it is. And being in LA for, The weekend, I was so reminded by certain people and just kind of how folks operate. And, this is not a good thing or a bad thing, yet it was just an observation. And perhaps maybe one of the reasons why we moved, but it's this ongoing pursuit of the chase. And it's this ongoing pursuit of this I I need to be seen and I need to be accepted no matter what. And I need to be invited to the table. And people are waiting to be found. This is like the mecca of entertainment and media and all of these other things. People are waiting to be found. It's like, I have this amazing gift and this amazing talent, but I'm not going to do anything with it because I'm so afraid that if I share my authentic self, whoever I am, that I'm going to be rejected. So I'm not going to share my truths. I'm going to keep really quiet. And because I want to be accepted in these groups, I want to be invited to the table. And when you're invited to the table, you realize the table isn't that great. Am I right? For those of you who are invited to the party, you realize the party wasn't that great after all. But we make it such a big deal. I have an example earlier. My son, he was going through, he's kind of at the stage where, boys will play with boys and girls will play with girls. I never thought that was a thing, but here we are. And it started, when he was younger. I guess maybe he didn't even know the difference, but he had most of his friends were girls. And now he's going through the stage where, it's like girls have cooties or, it's like, ew, I don't play with her. And then just the other day, just in passing, he said, Mama, the girls don't really like me. And I said, why? Why do you think that? What made you think that? He said, well, they don't really talk to me. I said, do you talk to them? We're making this meaning in our head that they don't talk to you, but have you tried talking to them? No. Well, what makes you think that? Well, they just go and play by themselves. And I said, okay, sounds like you want to go and play with them. And it was specifically this one girl. And I said, well, why don't you just go up to her and say, hey, that looks kind of cool, or comment at whatever she's playing with. Would you like to do this together? And, he just looked at me like, wait, Mom, you're crazy. Why would I do that? Because in their childhood development, everything, the world revolves around them. But they're also old enough to know the difference of being accepted and rejected. And it's so interesting because, there is, of course, many studies of, the role of peer relationships in teens in their mental health. And there's also, there's a study I came across where there's loneliness and mental health among older adults, where basically they identified themes of feelings related to isolation and disconnection from social networks, and the desire for and meaningful connections. Desire for acceptance and meaningful connections later in life. You guys, this starts early. This starts early on. And, this other study from the Journal of Adolescent Health talks about, and I'm going to link both of these in the show notes, but it talks about, the role of peer relationships in teen mental health outcomes, including feelings of loneliness, social disconnectedness, and the desire for acceptance. We want to belong so bad. And these results shared that the adolescents or teens who experienced peer rejection or social exclusion reported higher levels of loneliness, obviously, and decreased mental well-being. Right? So we all at the very core starts, at 5, 4, maybe even, but this is the first time my son kind of shared this with me. And this goes throughout life. And so because we are so longing for connection and to belong, that we are willing to do whatever it takes to seek the approval of others. Because at the end of the day, we want to feel accepted. We want to feel loved. We want to belong. And the isolation hurts way more. And so then we go after some of the things, we chase some of the people, we chase some of the then we put ourselves out of the comfort zone, which, like I said, hey, there's a place for that, right? If we are stuck in our suck and can't take action, that's start taking those baby steps. Yet, where do you feel that we need to either prove ourselves or wait to be called into the group or try to get a seat at the table? I say create your own table. That's why I created the Brave Table, so that I can empower all of you with the right decisions to really check in and see if it's aligned with you, to take brave actions, to actually say, hey, to the girl that maybe hasn't said hi to you. Because what I've recognized is there's people who are warm, and I know that's one of my character traits. And there's definitely a whole side of people that are cold. And I went through a whole season of, being in my Ice Queen era. It's great. Yet I think also on the receiving end, be mindful of, where are you being exclusive? And I see this a lot. I just laugh now because I see where the stereotype of, Los Angeles or LA or, comes from, and what may or may not dig it. I get it. I get it. People want to be seen. People are looking for the next thing. They are looking to be found. And yet I see, with the amount of failed dreams and homelessness and people who wanted to go after their dream, and maybe they worked so hard and that dream got crushed and failed, and maybe they ended on the street somehow. I'm not saying all, but I'm saying there's a few stories around that. But if we are sovereign in ourself, we are not looking for that external validation. We are not looking to be invited to any table. And we can be completely unapologetic with where we are at. And we go after those things ourselves instead of waiting to be found. And this is where, this card comes in today. I accept where I am at today. I might not know everything. I might be, if we take the fly forward framework, I might be in the middle of a fall. And for those of you who are just checking in, you're like, what is the fly forward framework? It is from my book, which is almost at a year old. That Suck Now What? How to Embrace the Joy in Chaos and Find Magic in the Mess. Actually, Jay Shetty, shout out to him. He says a how-to guide that offers grace to the human experience, because it is. We're giving ourselves grace. We're giving ourselves grace. I accept where I am today, knowing that when one door closes, others open, making it one step closer to my deepest desires, or to the people who accept me for me, no matter what. And it starts, I'm getting chills because I'm like, wow, it starts at these conversations when I'm having, with my 5-year-old. And I think also, if you don't have kids, this is fine. Talk to your inner 5-year-old self. You're the little girl or the little boy who just wanted to be validated at the lunch table, who just wanted to be validated at the school bus, inside the school bus, or in front of the kids at the soccer. So how can we actually cultivate the power of our own self-acceptance? Well, the first thing is, check out where you feel inauthentic. Because if we're wanting to feel authentic, where are we feeling inauthentic? Have you ever been in a room where, people are so cold, or maybe you kind of have that perspective, or maybe they're just so enthralled in their own conversations and you kind of feel super awkward, and you're like, I don't even know, should I go up to them and should I do this? Which is why I think, Gen Zers, man, you guys are there's going to be some social awkwardness that you'll have to go through. And I love you, Gen Zers, but I've noticed it's so interesting, and I feel like the younger generation, they just have so much to work through because they've just been on their phones. They can go into an event And they can be on their phone throughout the entire event. And I've seen this with my friends' older children who are now in their like 20s. I don't think that's Gen Z. Maybe they're a little bit, maybe it's the generation behind it. But they cannot, it's terror for them to have a conversation with somebody else. They'd much rather be on a Zoom or, share their heart out on TikTok or IG. But then when you get them face to face, they don't say anything. It's like pulling crickets out of them. And you're like, wait, but you're showing everything. You're telling your life story on IG. And when we get into a room, you're like not even sharing anything. I find it fascinating that the social awkwardness level is there. Where do you feel inauthentic? And maybe for some of you, it might feel inauthentic to go live on IG. It might feel terrorizing to go live on IG. Spend time with a Gen Zer and maybe it won't feel so awkward. I joke, it's a half truth because I mean it's kind of true. I know that there are times where I've been in rooms where it's like, okay, I've been invited to the table, but then you get to the table and you're like, ooh, okay, pull back because it feels not in alignment. And I'm not in my 20s where I'm trying to chase. And again, if you're in that season of life, no shade. We do what we need to do to feel good. I just know that in this stage of my 40s, I'm feeling unapologetic, like unapologetic AF. And if you want to come on the ride, you're on the ride. If you're not on the ride, it's cool too. But I hope that I can spark maybe a little bit more dialogue as to, are the people or the things that you're chasing after, are they aligned with your values or are they not? And if you don't know how to see what your values are, then I would definitely recommend getting my book, That Suck Now What. You can order, there's the new paperback version is out. Actually, woohoo! It's a version. Actually, it can fit in your purse and it's super light. The hardcover is obviously a little heavy. And so I'm so glad we made this into a smaller, tinier version. And you'll get a free 50-page guidebook. And it literally goes into exercises so that really you can really tune in to what feels in alignment and really know who you are in this stage of life. I think that many times we don't really know who we are. What we know is the programming of what our parents want for us, or our elders want for us, or our families want for us, or our friends want for us, or our friends see for us, and the list goes on and on and on. So this is where you get to take back your agency. And I write about this there's a specific part of the book where I literally talk about, there's a whole chapter on agency, by the way, but I'm on page 60 if you guys want to follow along. Now, I talk about a concept from social scientists, and we have a whole graphic on the external versus internal locus of control. And the, internal locus of control is where you are taking responsibility for your reality. You're taking responsibility and you're actually paying attention to where you are at and you're accepting every ounce of where you are at. Maybe you're feeling not so confident. Maybe you're feeling like in a funk. Maybe you're feeling like, okay, I'm noticing that when I'm with this friends group, I don't really feel good. I'm noticing when I'm with that mom's group, everyone's kind of gossiping and I don't really, it doesn't, I'm noticing when I'm with these other women, I just feel excluded. Like I do not feel included. And basically, your inner guidance directs you. You have built this muscle of your own intuition, of your own inner wisdom, and you trust your gut. Your validation comes from you, no one else. You own your part without shame. You're not shaming yourself. Without guilt, you're not guilting yourself. So mom guilt goes away. You're actually in the driver's seat. You know what you want to pull towards you, and that's agency. An external locus of control is you kind of think, why does everything happen to me? You have this like victim mindset. Your fate determines your direction. So you're looking and seeking approval from the outside. You're seeking approval from all of the external factors, right? The validation comes from other people. You blame others for setbacks. You're in the passenger seat. and you question, why me? And, I was of we were at, and I was by, and I was in we, of course, in due process, we get people that we love together, and we invited a bunch of folks for a round table dinner. And one of a couple came that didn't really know the others. And when they noticed, they felt, for whatever reason, excluded by one person in the group. Abruptly, this person, she walked away, and she said, I can't be here. And it was so abrupt. I mean, everybody stopped because it was like a round table sit down dinner. And she and her partner, they left the dinner. And later on that evening, she sends me a message, and she said, I so apologize for the abrupt leaving. I'm just practicing so clearly what drains my energy and what feels inauthentic. And I felt, so and so was inauthentic. And so, and I said, yeah, that's your experience. You to have your own experience. And she said, there's nothing that, you guys did. You guys are so gracious. However, I'm just so practicing what feels right in my body. And for me, it felt inauthentic for me to be there. And I said, kudos to you, because most people would bite their nails. Most people would, trudge through it, because if it's in certain parts of the world where they are chasing for something or wanting to be at the table, this person already knew who she was 100% and knew what was not good for her, and knew that, yeah, it might make people feel awkward, but she didn't care. In that, I said, that is kudos to you. I wish more people kind of lived their lives like that they didn't need to seek the approval of others. They accepted themselves so wholeheartedly that they decided to leave the party because it just was not a fit for where they were in the stage of life that they were in. And I gave her big respect, because you don't see that. And so I want to invite you to think, well, where do you feel inauthentic? And I know we've all been there. I know that, you've been to maybe a networking event or an event, etc., where, you're trying to make conversation, but then, maybe the conversation circle closes, or you've been in groups where, if you are more warm, people are not that warm. Or if you are being openly welcomed with open hands, you're kind of like, ooh, what do they want from me? And so then you get skeptical. And so then you pull back. Or maybe you're at events where everyone is really cold because that's their upbringing and that's their modus operandi. That's their MO. They don't know how to be warm. And I will, people have been asking me about, warmth as a character trait and how to build that. And I am going to do another episode around that, but I really want to get into the feeling, when you feel drained, the feeling of this particular friend who she felt it, she noticed it actually a couple times, throughout that 15-minute period, and then made the decision to leave. Again, no good or bad, no judgment on it, but I respect her for it because she knew who she was and she wasn't willing to tolerate anything less. Would you be able to be brave and do that? Because when we go through values, going into checking if it's values aligned or not. So it wasn't in her values to stick around when other people were. In her mind, again, this is her experience and she's entitled to her experience, we're not feeling authentic. And to be able to just check in with that, right? So that's the first thing. Second is understanding your motivations for why you're hanging out with certain people. Do they make you feel good? Do they make you feel drained? Do they energize you? Do they make you feel insecure? Do they make you feel loved? Maybe you are the type of person that it's really, hard for you. Maybe you're an introvert and you have to kind of recoup all that energy for the whole day so that when you go to a friend's party or a gathering, etc., you're like, I'm only going to go and talk to a few people that I know that make me feel really good. And if that's you, great. Great. You know who you are. But then some of us who are extroverts, sometimes we go to a thing and we're drained by the end of the day because we're kind of around energy vampires. We're sucking the energy out of you. And you're like, whoa, why was that so hard? Well, at least for me, because maybe they're gossiping, maybe they are talking about things that I don't really necessarily care about, like sports. Could care less, honestly. And if your motivations are, again, not in your own values, they do not align or coincide with the values of where you are you going to just push through being at that event? And I want to say, I kind of want to play devil's advocate for those who are like, well, Neeta, I don't really like going to events. I don't really like putting myself out there. I don't really like going to places where I don't know a single soul. Well, maybe that's what we need to do so we can put ourselves out there and we can start. So, this is the third thing, start making micro decisions that actually feel good to you. Because the only way to grow is through discomfort, right? Is through putting ourselves in a tiny, tiny bit of discomfort. Because what tends to happen? Then we start to grow our emotional capacity. We start to grow our capacity to feel a little awkward. Because the feeling of awkwardness, it tells us something. It says, hey, I'm not used to this, but let me see how I kind of feel. Maybe I will get rejected from this person. And maybe I'll learn how to communicate better. Maybe I will get slighted from that person because they don't know who I am, but maybe I'll have the courage or the bravery to go up to them and say, hey, because they might not feel good in their own skin. And it goes back to, also teaching my 5-year-old that, the little girl who may not be wanting to play with him, she may not know what to say back. She might not know how to initiate conversation. And so I want to make sure that I'm teaching them, my son in this case, that it's okay to go up to somebody else and it's okay to ask them if they want to play with you. And if they say no, then they say no. But at least now you know, versus making up a meeting in our head. And this is what we do as adults. And gosh, if you have teenagers, this is where it starts. And this is where we fall into these patterns of succumbing to social pressures because we don't want to feel ousted. We don't want to feel isolated. And the social rejection game is big. I'm giving you a different avenue. Why don't you just create your own table? Why don't you create your own table with, 2 or 3 people that you want to get to know better this year? Because you know who you are. But the third thing is start making these micro decisions. Okay. It may not land for somebody else, like in that example of my friend who left the dinner party abruptly, but she did it to protect her boundaries. And it may not land for somebody else. I mean, sure, people said, hey, what happened there? Is everything okay? Yeah. No sweat off anybody's back. The night kept going. It may even cause you to start distancing yourself. In fact, I started doing this. I had to pull back on a lot of social things because I am a very social person because it just didn't feel in alignment with me. It didn't. And I wasn't going to lie about it or pretend like it was. I was trying to be truthful for myself to protect my energy. And as you begin to build that muscle of discomfort, of allowing yourself to feel the awkwardness, allowing yourself to feel the discomfort of possible rejection, allowing yourself to maybe feel the embarrassment of getting up from a dinner table party and walking away, but knowing I'm doing this because my values are, I don't stand for inauthenticity. But what happens is your capacity to protect yourself grows, and your capacity to say, you know what, I don't need external validation grows. Your capacity to accept yourself no matter what grows, so that we don't need FOMO, that we are not needing to say yes to everything. And sometimes, yeah, you might disappoint other people. It might cause friction They might make up stories in their head, but that is on them. You are just doing what's right for you. And I just love this. And I wanted to invite you, for whoever is kind of in the season of rising from maybe a fall, maybe rising from feeling funky after getting into the new year, and you're kind of going through your own energy shifts and seeing what feels good to you. I invite you to join me on my first 3-day retreat in collaboration with the Art of Living Center. This is Sri Sri Ravi Shankar's Living Center in Boone, North Carolina. I'm so excited because on those sacred grounds of Boone, North Carolina, you don't have to, if you want to come, you can come by yourself, but we still have room for, if you want to bunk with someone else. I think it's the best way to get out of your comfort zone. It's the best way to meet new people that are in the same arena of life as you are. I created this because this was one of the big questions that people got. Well, I went through a divorce. I went through a season of life. Now what? And so I'm inviting you, now what? Now what? What's your going to look like? Maybe you've been putting off pouring into yourself because you're afraid of what the mom circle is going to think. You're afraid that you're going to miss your daughter's birthday. You're afraid you're going to miss you're taking care of your elderly parents, and God forbid if you miss a day. They will be so much happier if you demonstrate self-acceptance 100%, that you're pouring into you. This is not time to allow guilt to be in the driver's seat. Guilt can be in the passenger seat. Guilt can say, hey, all right, I'm here. But how will your family and your friends and your community and your spouse be when you actually allow yourself to pour into you? When you actually allow yourself to say, hey, I'm doing this for myself. How much better of a mother will you be? How much better of a daughter or a son will you be? How much better of a partner will you be when you allow that time to focus in on yourself? We really don't give ourselves enough grace, especially when we're moving through change. And so this is my invitation for you. Let's fly forward together. Let's fly forward from whatever chapter you were in. And what we're going to be going over in our little 3-day kind of deep dive together is we're going to rewire some old patterns so that you can replace your outdated beliefs. We're going to re-nourish you. We're going to help you get revitalized so that you are building your own internal strength. And that is not going to come crumbling down. And you'll walk away with some tools that will help you so that you can manage your day-to-day stress when you get back out. So this is actually for you if you've been needing to pour into yourself, if you've wanted to make other friends or wanted to be in a safe oasis and even inviting circle that really allows you to express whatever you're feeling and to really allow it to release. Maybe you're holding on to past baggage that you just haven't been able to let go of. This is that weekend, and I'm so excited to take you through this 3-day journey. They have an amazing spa, and again, they are actually having we have rooms for 2 people share and even 3 people. So it's the best way to meet other people. I remember going to one of these about 10 years ago now, right when I left my first marriage. I was going through a period of darkness. I was going through a season of my life where I needed to make new friends. I needed to get out of my comfort zone. I needed to not care what my aunt, my, grandmother, my, external family members would say, because I needed to do this for myself. So if that's where you are at, I invite you to take the leap. Join me at the Art of Living Center. I'm going to link it in the show notes. And for this link, you will actually get the weekend for the tuition is $350. And basically you'll see about the room and board, and your meals are taken care of for those 3 days. So I am so excited to see you there. And if this episode resonated with you, if you enjoyed this, and if you are like, oh my gosh, I want more, or I think my girlfriend needs this, or a friend of mine needs this, or a spouse or a relative, share this episode with them. Don't be afraid. Share this on YouTube. Share this with them, because I think that as we normalize this, we can start moving through this and working through this together. And I want to know what you loved most about this episode. So share it. You can follow me at Neeta Bhushan on IG, as well as the Brave Table. So at the Brave Table, and that's also linked in the show notes. And if we have not heard your 5-star review, what are you waiting for? It helps us so much to actually just follow us on iTunes. And if you can give us a 5-star rating, I would be so grateful. When you screenshot that review, you can send it to us at support@globalgrit.co. That is support@globalgrit.co. And when I see that screenshot, I will send you our free gift. Thank you so, so much for being here. Thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time on the Brave Table.
I think it's that quote which says, like, be careful what you wish for, because you just might get it. And I never understood the power of it till I actually got what I wanted. And then I realized that I didn't want it. I was conditioned to believe that that's what I should be. Oh, you're a high achiever. Oh, if you're a brown kid, either you're a high achiever, you're a doctor.